So kind of tell us, Ronald, what was your backstory? What did you do prior to real estate? Because I know you've been doing this for about a decade now. So what were you doing before real estate?
So before real estate, I started off and I got the entrepreneur bug when I was real little. And actually, the bug came and then I realized I didn't want to be an entrepreneur because I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. I grew up in the asphalt maintenance business. I would sleep on the paver while we were paving roads.
Wow.
And I early on, man, realized this was not for me. Like, I do not want to do this. It was aggressive. I didn't like the environment. And yet, when I was 16, I negotiated with my dad to be able to split the profits with him with seal coating. Right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, so 16 to 18, I did that. At this time, I'm in Wasilla, Alaska, and I leave and I go to Texas. Well, when I moved to Texas, I'm like, man, I'm going to get a regular job. Like, I want a regular job, right? So I get a job at Sprint. It was actually like a third-party authorized dealer, the phone company.
Okay.
And Marcus, bro, I was making $8 an hour. I was making more at friggin' 13 than I was when I got this. So I started selling cell phones and I worked my way up in a year and a half to be the manager of the store. I was the youngest manager in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And by that time, not only was I the youngest manager, I was also the lowest paid manager because I was so young and I worked my way up.
Yep.
So I left that. At this point, I'm married. We had our first baby on the way. And I'm like, I need to make more money, right? I mean, on the outside, things are going well. I'm making pretty good money, but I was like, I need to do something else. So I go get a job at JP Morgan Chase. And very quickly, I joined the private client department. And that's basically managing money between $250,000 and $10 million. Okay. So the department. I started in the store, like when you just walk into Chase, but I ended up in 8 months moving into the private client sector. And long story short, man, I had a client and he made a $3 million deposit.
Wow.
And this dude always answered the phone. You do sales? We do. Nobody answers the phone, right?
Right.
So I call this guy up and I'm like, hey, man, like, first off, I want to let you know your deposit came in, doing all the fun stuff. And I was like, what do you do?
What do you do? Right.
Right? Like, he's like, well, I've been in real estate since the 80s and we just flipped an apartment complex. So this is the proceeds from an apartment complex he flipped. So I was like, do you mind? Can I take you out to lunch? I've already helped his mom move a bunch of money and I'd kind of helped the family. And he's like, okay. So we went out to lunch and he opened my whole mind to this whole game, right? He just kind of gave me a taste, just the dream. And from there, man, I went to a group that was called Lifestyles Unlimited in Dallas, Texas. It was mainly around rental properties.
Okay.
The guy gets up on stage and he goes, I decided not to keep this house for a rental, so I wholesaled it and I made $18,000 in 3 hours. And I'm thinking, what?
Right. How do you do that?
Yeah. Like, what? If you can do that, come on, bro. Like, what's going on? So I end up emailing the guy. He emailed me back, which was super cool. And he pointed me to a guy named Sean Terry. And
Terry from right here.
Big boy.
Yeah,
the OG of the education stuff. So I read his free, he had a free Kindle book. I read his Kindle book. I was like, I could do this. And then it was December 24th. I watched a webinar and it was for a $2,000 course at the time from him. And dude, I was going back and forth. Should I buy this? Is this even real? And it was about 11 o'clock at night. And I bought the $2,000 course. And 3 months later, man, I did my first deal for $3,000 was my first wholesale deal. Okay. I ordered direct mail. And once I got that first check, dude, it was like, this is real. Like, this is a real deal. You know what I'm saying? And I should have made like 30 grand on that first deal if I knew what I knew now. But I made 3 grand. It was good. And then, man, I was putting bandit signs in the evenings. I was taking appointments in the middle of the day. I was at work being like, I got to go see a client and doing a real estate deal on the side. And so that's how I got started, man. And just jumping in and couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go from there.